Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Rachel. I'm the Talking Dog Stitcher here on YouTube and over on Instagram, and this channel is all about cross stitch. Welcome to anyone that's returning and is seeing me for the first time in a really long time, and welcome if you are new as well. I know WIP parades can tend to draw some new viewers, so very warm welcome. It has been about 9 months since I last filmed, so I am going to, for the benefit of everyone that's gone, who are you again? And anyone that is brand new, a quick introduction. So like I say, I'm Rachel, I'm the Talking Dog Stitcher here on YouTube and over on Instagram, and I live in the north of England with my husband and 2 children, and I run the online needle workshop Talking Dog Stitchery as well. It's a very exciting project that I'm really grateful to the entire stitching community for helping me make it successful and get going. So this channel, while I do mention the shop, I always have it linked in the description box below. It's not like a buy from me kind of channel. I obviously stitch things that I stock in the shop, and in that case there will be sort of links to it if you wanted to pick it up for yourself. But it predominantly it's my personal stitching. The channel came well before the shop. The shop is about a little over a year old. The channel, I think, is about 2.5 years old. So yeah, like I say, it's not going to be a hard sell to try and get you to buy from me, but it is, you know, it's linked. It's stitching and stitching, they go hand in hand. But like I say, it won't be sort of in your face trying to push things onto you. With that said, I do have a lot to show you. Like I say, it's been about 9 months since I was last here, and there was no way that I was going to be able to pick out all of the things that I'd worked on in the last 9 months to do a regular Flosstube update. So what better way to get back into it than a full WIP parade. I also have all of my finishes and UFOs that I'm going to show you as well. So for those of you who are unaware of the acronyms that we use here, it's WIP, work in progress, projects that have been started but not yet finished. WIP parade. UFO is an unfinished object. That's an item that I have started that I have no intention of finishing. There are a few of them. When I get them out, I will tell you why they are not being finished. We've also got FOs and FFOs, which are finished objects where all of the stitching has been completed. Fully finished objects where they have been maybe framed, turned into pillows, anything that's made it ready for display or gifting or anything like that. We are going chronologically. I started stitching when I was probably 8 years old, when my mum taught me and my nan taught me. I've been going on and off since then. Probably got really back into it in 2020 over the pandemic, as I know many people did. And, you know, discovering Flosstube, discovering all of the wonderful things that were out there and available, and being able to pick your own fabrics and your own threads and changing designs in ways that was a big turning point for me. So you'll see a bit of a progression from the things that I've got, WIPs that are still from 2021, all the way through to the WIPs that I've started very recently, where I'm getting more confident with changing colours and making adaptations as I go. So I'm excited to show you. Hopefully you enjoy, and let's get into it. Okay, so I do have notes in my lap. I've got my Pattern Keeper app up so I can give you sort of completion percentages. I've also got my Notion template, my Notion Stitchy Tracker. I'll pop a link below to the template that I used for that, which I've adapted quite heavily, but it was a really good jumping off point. I'll pop that down below as well from Frizzy Lizzy Stitches. And yes, I've also got my face over there, so if, you know, it's a bit distracting. If I keep looking around, I'll try and keep coming back to the camera, but I've got notes and piles and stuff everywhere. So let's jump into it. The first one that I'm going to show you is the first one that I showed in my first WIP parade. It's my oldest WIP, and it's no longer a WIP. I have finally finished it. This is Snoozy Day, which was a Designer Stitches. It's a Designer Stitches kit. Disney's watercolours, a Snoozy Day, fully back stitched and everything. And when I had it, the last WIP parade, I will obviously be popping a before picture, so you'll see where it started at that one, hopefully, if I can get it to work. I started this in 2016. There was a baby being born that I wanted to make a little gift for. That baby is 8. The baby's 8 years old, I think. I've had 2 children. She's had that child plus 2 more. So there's been 5 children since I started this, and none of them have received it. But my daughter is only 3 years old. She's still young enough to appreciate Winnie the Pooh. So we'll see if we can get this finished up and popped on her wall. But I'm really pleased. That was my main focus for 2024, was to try and get this finished or as close to finish as possible, and I've managed it. So I'm really, really pleased with that. I finished that eventually on the 19th of April this year, 2025. Right, we're going to have to start a pile of things that we've shown. WIP number 1. So this one is from 2021. I started on 1st of March. It's by Country Magic Stitch. It's called Visit Hogsmeade. And I'm stitching this on 16 count pewter Ada from Zweigart. And we are, how far are we through this one? This is 21.95%. So if I pop this here, you can do a side by side. And this is where we're at. We've got some creases. I'm sorry, I haven't ironed anything. What I really enjoy about this one is that I started stitching it, I discovered Flosstube and techniques that helped make my stitching look nicer. So you can actually see the first sort of 5 rows of this are a little more untidy, a little bit bulkier, not laying quite so nice. And then as you get down to further layers, you see it start to come in. You also see where I've learned my lesson not to stop at a page break, because it does get a bit of a line coming through. I'm hoping once it's washed and ironed and things, that will be a little less obvious. I started trying to kind of feather the edges in, but obviously I'm doing that after the fact and it's not working. Unsurprisingly. So lots and lots of things were learned with this, and I don't want to stop stitching it. I love being able to see the progression in that one. That's being stitched in DMC threads. I have to apologise to anyone using headphones. There's going to be a lot of zipping. Everything is still in the project bags. It's going back in the project bags once I'm finished with it, because otherwise it would be utter chaos in here. Being kept in a project bag from Turtle Bay Stitches, who made this for me to go with the project. WIP number 2. This was a purchase from Etsy from Stitchrovia, as many of you know Stitchrovia. This is where I'd watch like 4 or 5 floss tubes. I was like, oh my god, I can do this. This is great. I'm going to go on 40 count. Here is where we are. It says, take life with a pinch of salt, a wedge of lime and a shot of tequila. 40 count Newcastle linen in antique white. I started this on the 18th of March 2021. Still, it's very old. It's 42.4% complete. And in DMC 2/2, and by that I mean 2 strands of thread over the 2 of the linen threads, which if you are a regular around Flosstube you'll know that's a bit bulky. That's a bit much, isn't it, for 40 count? Yes it is. Yes it is. I jumped in both feet, didn't really think about it. So this is being stitched, like I say, 2/2. It's a little bit chunky. I don't hate it. I am struggling with places like you can see in the shot glass, there's a bit of a sort of checkerboard effect between the slightly darker colour at the top and the lighter colour at the bottom. And that has been quite difficult to get the threads through where there's already a cross at the back and you're doing another cross, and it's quite hard. But other than that, I think it's coming out quite well. So a lesson was learned for sure, but I'm really happy with how it's looking. I think if it had been a full coverage, we'd be looking at starting over, but because it's just this sort of font and typography, I think we can get away with it. So we're going to keep going on that one. I'm aware that all of these projects are over 4 years old. I'm not in a hurry. I don't tend to gift to people after the Winnie the Pooh drama of it not getting finished in time. I don't make any promises. If you get it, you get it, and you'll get it on my time scale. Next, we have classic Lego princesses. That's not the right bag. We'll get that. Again, sorry for the zipping. So this is from Geo Creations on Etsy. Again, I'll be doing this a lot, all of the lessons that I've learned along the way. Here is where we are at. It's being stitched on a 14 count pearl Ada from Zygarde, so it's got this slight metallic-y, shimmery effect to it. And if I had known a little bit better before I jumped right in, I would have stitched this on an even weave. It's all full crosses apart from their faces, so I don't know if you can tell. They are all quarter stitches and 3/4 stitches in the eyes and mouth. So it would have been a lot easier had I had an even weave. I could have just done miniature crosses instead of trying to do all of this piercing of the Ada to get the eyes in. I think I'm pulling it off. I think they are looking amazing, but just to make my life easier, it would have been on, like I say, an even weave. This is also being stitched in DMC, and I started this on the 12th of April 2021, and this is my last 2021 WIP. This next one is a bit of a mix between finishes and WIPs, and I'll show you why. These are the Brooks Books Advent Animals, and I'm hoping one day that either my children or grandchildren, probably grandchildren at this rate, will have these turned into an advent calendar for them. We've got number 1 through 5, and most of 6 finished. So Katie Kitty, Peter Polar Bear, Mary Mouse, Duncan Dog, Hattie Hedgehog, and Cashmere Camel. There's a bit of there's like a bow effect that goes on the top of the present, similar to the one on the bone there. I've decided I'm going to do that at the end, because the more this comes in and out of the hoop, the more I'm expecting that to get a little bit damaged and not looking so nice. So we'll come back to that at the end. But we've got 6 completed and 19 to go. This was started on the 1st of January 2022. I did 1 until the beginning of 2024, I think. You'll know because you'll have seen the before picture. So I've managed to get through a few, but I do really need to pick up the pace if I want to get going. This is on light blue Zygarde 16 count Ada. I'm stitching it in DMC, all as called for, and these are a freebie on the Brooks Books website. I will double check to see if they're still available, and if they are, I will link them below. I know that the designer has since sadly passed away, and I'm unsure if that website is still active. So like I say, I will, if I can, I will link it down below for all of those little freebie charts, and those will continue. What I've decided is that this is one WIP, one start, but every single little one is a finish, because my rules, I can do what I want. Advent Animals, right, design 5. So this is from, excuse me rummaging, Cross Stitch for the Soul by Emma Congdon, who is the designer behind Stitch Rovia. and I am doing design 5, a smooth sea never made a skillful sailor. Beautiful. I have spent quite a lot of time doing some recharting, so I like to use CrossStitch Saga wherever possible, and it's one of those apps where you can mark off your stitches, but it also works for backstitch, beads, French knots, all that kind of stuff. I have bought myself the package where you can chart designs, so I've recharted anything that, well, a lot of things that have got a paper pattern. I've charted myself into MaxStitch and then popped them into Saga so that I can work from that and not have to carry the book around. It is quite difficult if you're stitching it. The chart is actually this way across 2 pages, so it doesn't obviously sit in a stand or anything like that. So just to make my life easier, I have had this recharted, and whilst I was there, I don't think either of them are incorrect, whether it's like a UK versus US or what. I actually know the word skillful to have 1 L. I don't think 2 L's is incorrect, it's just how I know it, so I've recharted it to have 1 less letter. And I'm stitching it on the other half of the 40 count Newcastle linen that my other Stitch Rovia piece is on, but having learnt that lesson, I'm stitching it 1/2. Again, all in DMC, and it is, especially for this big block in the middle, it's made a big difference to have just 1 thread there. I love all of the colours in this one, it's really beautiful. It's 14.85% complete, because like I say, I have this in Saga. I only do this for my personal use. Once I finished a chart, I delete it from my device. I don't share that. Like I say, I do the recharting for my personal use, so please don't ask me to share my files, because I won't. It's not right and fair to the designer for me to do that. Okay, next up, all of those are just in some little plastic Amazon project bags, nothing exciting. This one is in a canny little fox project bag. I got this, I think this is one of like her first ever project bags that she sold. I got a little goodie bag with it because I think I was one of the first 10 people to buy a canny little fox bag. I've still got the scrunchie that she'd made that she sent with it. So cute little foxes and mushrooms with the inner lining and the glittery vinyl. Ooh. Again, all in DMC. It's being stitched on 32 count water lily linen from Permin, and this is Light by Barbara Anna. That is the back. What am I doing? It's been that long. It feels like my first ever video again. There we go. Light by Barbara Anna. I've excused the hanging thread. I've mentioned in previous videos that I like to, at the beginning of the year, go through every project and start a thread, and then by the end of the year I know what I've worked on, what I haven't, because if it's got a hanging thread like this ready to go, it means I haven't worked on it. Started doing that, got about 3 projects in, and I was like, I do not have time for this. So as much as it really works for me, making sure that I touch every single project every single year, I just did not have the time to put into doing that this year, hence why no WIP parade at the beginning of the year or anything. So that's where we're at. We are 14.85% of the way through this one. This is a freebie from the Barbara Anna Instagram page, so if I link that down below, you should be able to find it. Like I say, it's called Light. Skillful Sailor, I started on the 3rd of February 2022. This was on the 4th of February 2022 because I was on a bit of a starting streak. And 2/2 on the 32 count. I'm trying to fold everything up in a different way as I go so that they don't get too embedded, those creases. And next up, I got this one as a kit. This is Dinosaur Forest from Al Forest Embroidery. It comes in a box with all of the Owl Forest embroidery threads in a Turtle Bay Stitches project bag. And it's all the kit materials, so the Owl Forest threads, which are absolutely beautiful. They come like this with the symbol and a bobbin to pop it on. Beautiful variegation. I also picked up from Owl Forest that I haven't used since I got it, that I thought was really, really cool. This is like a universal thread keep. So you can see it's got all of the symbols on there. So they use the same symbols for all of their designs. So what I need to do is go through and pop the threads into the symbols, and I've got one of those for this one. I think I've got another one in my other Owl Forest that I've got started. I thought that was really clever. So if you're ever in a position to do an Owl Forest embroidery order, consider one of those, because I know it'll come in very handy. For me, I'm not a bobbin fan. I don't love it. So this is a great alternative for it. Anyway, to stitching, I think it's a 32 count Zweigart linen that came in the kit. This is where we are. We are 13.9% complete on this. I am trying to get that border done because I know what I'm like. Pop it over here. I know what I'm like. I will do all of the fun stuff in the middle and then never pick up the project again to do the boring border. So as my friend Sherry says, I'm doing my vegetables, getting my vegetables done so I can get into the meat of it a little bit later. What I'm trying to do with the variegated threads is, you see this dino down here, so rather than just working in rows, which can sometimes lead to a stripy effect depending on how long your variegation is in the thread and all that kind of stuff, I've decided with that one that I was going to stitch in the shape of him. So I stitched up here and then across and then down and around to try and get those stitches to look a little more organic, I suppose is the word for it, rather than like a stripy dinosaur, like a dinosaur with a bit more movement. I don't know if it's made a big difference on that one. The thread isn't that variegated, but we'll see when it comes to some of the other motifs, like the mountain. I did up the side and then I went across and I went down here, and then I did this bit and then I went across and I went up and I went down. So rather than a stripy volcano, we've got some sort of shadows and stuff. Does that make any sense? I know what I was doing. It's just whether I can get it across to you. So yeah, and that's what I love about variegated threads as well, is every person that stitches it with the same threads will get a completely different result. Right, next up we have a UFO, so bear with me. Okay, so the first UFO of the video is my Mirabilis Cinderella. I started stitching this. I'm using the called for smoky pearl that it's got on the chart, which is obviously what the model stitch has been stitched on. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to start with the border, get it done, see what size it is, and then, you know, get to the good bit later. And the more I was stitching it and the more Flosstube I watched, I was like, I could have picked such a beautiful fabric for this. I didn't have to stitch that border. I don't even really necessarily like the border. So what I've decided is I'm going to scrap this. I'll show you where I've got to. Scrap it, start it again on a lovely fancy fabric. We have some amazing dyers here in the UK and also abroad, that I could get something a little bit more interesting. So I've got a bit of Krynic in there already. This is as far as I got. This is almost as far as it goes across the top, and that's apart from the little squiggly bits, and down to the bottom. So she and this fabric, I will probably, rather than frog it or rip it all out, I'll probably just sort of cut it, and then I've got a big chunk of fabric that I can use for something else. And yeah, I will get just Cinderella herself and maybe the castle in the background just on its own and do it at some point in the future. So she is not gone forever, but she is not continuing in this form. I've got a few other fancy ladies on my want to start list and in my WIP pile, so I'm not short of pretty ladies and glittery stitching to get on with. So this one's not bringing me joy, so off she goes. And I was on a bit of a UFO spree, getting rid of everything that I thought, you know what, I'm not going to stitch it. I'm not going to stitch it like this. I'd rather stitch it in a different way or with a different fabric or whatever. So I have got another UFO. This is a Designworks kit called Rainbow Ride. It came with this little Kodak photograph as the cover, and it's kitted up with 14 count Aida. So we're talking massive long piece of Aida, and I started in the center with that way round with his little underpants that are being pulled down. And it's really great, sort of mindless stitching almost, because it's just blocks of colour. It looks really good. My mum has actually stitched this kit on the 14 count Aida. It's on display in her house, in the room that my kids sleep in when they go for a sleepover. I think what I'm going to do is Fabrics by Crafty Kate. I'll pop a link to her shop down below. She does a fabric, I think it's called Bluetiful, which is a lovely blue. She does it in 40 count. So I think what I will do is I'll see if I can get her to do me a cut of 40 count Bluetiful that I can stitch this on, which will make it much smaller, and I think it'll be much more enjoyable to stitch on using just one thread, and we should have plenty of threads still in the kit to restart that on a different fabric, because it's just huge. I like stitching on 14 count because it's so easy to see, but the result does end up massive. So that's why I'm gonna do something I never thought I would do, which is switch out the kit fabric. Didn't know that was a thing before Flosstube, so it's got a lot to answer for, I have to say, Flosstube, but I think I will really enjoy stitching that much more when it's on a 40 count. Next up we have another little kit. I picked this up from Hobbycraft, which is a craft store here in the UK. It's this Peter Rabbit Too Much Lettuce sampler. Eating too much lettuce makes me sleepy. I haven't done anything interesting with this. I'm just using all of the kit materials. I started this on the 2nd of April. We're still in 2022. And here is where I'm at. This would not take long if I would just sit down and finish it. That'll be a recurring theme, I think you'll find. If you continue watching me, I tend to just stop when I feel like stopping, or stop when a child wakes up, and then don't pick it up again for a while, because I've got a lot to choose from. So this will be picked up again soon. I've decided there are some like red stitches, stitches and French knots. I've decided I'm probably not going to do it. I think it looks really nice like that. The leaves are also back stitched in this brown colour. I've decided I'm not going to do that either. I might do a bit of back stitching in the same colour as the leaves, but I did back stitch one leaf and I didn't think it sat quite right, so I'm gonna make it my own. Got all of the writing done. I just need to finish those leaves, get the trunk, and get Peter himself. He's all back stitched, which I think, apart from his coat, I think looks so adorable. done a couple of these Hobbycraft kits. They are on display, hung up on my daughter's bedroom wall, so I'm going to get that one done. And like it says, it fits in an 8x10 frame, so that's probably exactly what I will do. I will go and pick up a frame and get that framed at some point to display for her. Where are we next? This one. This one is still in its frame. I'm stitching this all in CXC. This is Story Keep Pocahontas. And this is another one where I've actually started parking threads. Don't know if I'm going to keep doing that, but we'll see. This is where we are. This is on 25 count, easy count, even weave from Zweigart. I started it the 5th of April 2022. It's 4.4% complete at the moment. So where are we? We'll do a side by side. Excuse me. This, like I say, it's been stitched all in CXC threads, which helps keep the cost down a little bit. And I'm really enjoying how this looks. The only issue I have with it is that it is only a little chart. It's still got a ridiculous number of colours. Where are we? And as I was stitching it, I pulled out a colour and there's 3 stitches of this colour in the whole chart, and it's a variation of an orangey brown, so I thought, I'm not doing that. So I, in some small places, will be going, no, stuff that, I'm stitching it in the colour next to it. So we'll see at the end whether it's obvious that I've done that, but I'm not picking up a colour to stitch 3 stitches and then finish it off. Not in a pattern that is, well, how many stitches is it? Well, 38,000 stitches, essentially. I don't think you'll notice if 3 of those stitches are in ever so slightly the wrong colour. So there we are. That right there is the width of the piece, so it's only going to be a little narrow. It's called Story Keep Pocahontas by Heaven and Earth Designs. I did say that I was going to make this my 25/7 piece, which is where you stitch either 25 stitches or for 25 minutes a day on a piece to get good progress. But like I said at the beginning, I think I don't do well with like a rotation or being, even if it's myself telling me that I need to do it, I don't do well with being told what I'm supposed to stitch, because then I'll resent it a little bit and then it just gets put in a box and ignored. So we'll pick it up again at some point when I'm feeling a bit of a full coverage. I've got a couple of full coverages on the go. I'll pick it up again at some point. She's pretty. She's pretty. One day. Did I say 4.4% complete? Another UFO. Like I said, I went on a bit of a scrapping spree. This is another kit. Again, I think it's a case of the fabric, but I'm just going to swap it out. This is the Oceana Collection Sea Life Collage by DMC. And I've done such a tiny little start on this, using all of the kit materials. It's a stiff 16 count Ada, and I'm started in the centre. I tend to start in the centre for kits because you don't know how much allowance they've given you around the outside unless you do a lot of counting and calculating and measuring and stuff, which I don't feel like doing most of the time. So where are we? Yeah, we're in the middle, the top of the seal's little patch and the bottom of the dolphin's little patch. So we've got some really light blue in the middle there, some of the sand, there's one strand, half stitches, there's full crosses, and I think what I might try and do is, I've seen that you can get fabric which is sort of half beige to look like sand, half blue to look like sky. I might see if I can get a piece of that would fit this on, and then only stitch the animals rather than all of those half stitch background pieces. We'll see. It's going to be a restart at some point on something else, but for now it is going in the no thank you pile. Such a cute kit, but it's just not been calling to me, as you can tell by the fact that I've not worked on it. I've just not been feeling it, and if it doesn't bring me joy, then we don't bother stitching on it. Next up, Turtle Bay Stitches project bag. This is from a magazine. I think it was a Just Cross Stitch. I'll pop the details probably on the screen. It's also available, it's by Doreen Jones from the magazine. She also has it on her Etsy page now. This is being stitched on 32 count pearl grey linen from Zweigart, and I've started at the top. This is what it's going to look like here. And this was a fun one to try and figure out where I was going to start with, because I wasn't going to be able to do a centre start. There's nothing in the centre. Couldn't do a top left start because there isn't anything in the top left. So we've got a top middle, and we are stitching it in CXC 2/2, and I was struggling reading the magazine printout, so I did buy the chart from her Etsy shop as well, so I could pop it into Pattern Keeper. It's 4.9% complete, and I started it on the 4th of May 2022. I do love it. It's going to look amazing once it's finished. That hanging thread has been there since probably the beginning of the year, and I haven't worked on it yet, but we'll, again, when I feel the urge, it'll come out again to play. This is a question mark. I haven't decided if I'm going to UFO this yet, or if I'm going to restart it on the new fabric. This is a Luca-S kit called Sunflowers. It is really beautiful. This is one where it's a paper chart. I'm not really a fan of paper charts where I can avoid them, and I don't tend to reach for ones that are paper charts just because of where my stitchy setup is. I've got a stand that holds my tablet that so I can have the chart up, and I don't have anything effective for holding a paper chart, so if, like I say, I don't reach for it very often. All the kit materials, this is where I'm at. I might sit down one day and get this into my charting software so that I can stitch from my tablet. It is really beautiful. I started this the 15th of May 2022, 2/1 as called for in the chart. Yeah, question mark pile I think on that one. Next up, this is also a bit of a question mark. Is it in here? Yeah. So this is a video game sampler by Screaming Heart X Stitch. I started it on the 20th of May 2022. This was a start for my husband. I'll pop a picture on the screen of what it's going to look like when it's finished. And I started this, I'd been going back to work. I just had my daughter, been going back to work, and I was still breastfeeding. So I had breaks at work where they'd set me up a little room where I could express breast milk. So mostly for my comfort, I wasn't able to actually feed it to her, just because she wouldn't really take a bottle. But I'd sit in this little cubicle that they'd created for me, which had like signs on the outside saying "Do not disturb," and then all people that were walking, it was in like a corner little office, but it was on the way to like the big meeting room at my place of work. So very occasionally there would be people that were coming in to have maybe their like performance reviews, or people would be coming in for meetings, and they'd just hear this coming from the behind the walls of this little cubicle, and it would just be me like all like set up being milked, sitting with my cross stitch. I picked a dark fabric. This is 32 count chalkboard from from Permin. It's a very stiff fabric. I don't love stitching on Permin linen. But I took a dark fabric because it lived in a little drawer, a little lockable drawer that they gave to me, where I could keep all of my stuff, and I didn't want it to get dirty. But I don't love working on the fabric. I don't know if I'm going to keep going on this one. It's looking great. I think I just need to pick it up and do it. I do love stitching words and typography and stuff, so it's very see-through. Look, it's a bit of a pain to stitch on. So it's being kept in a completely unrelated bag. This is from Yasmin's Made with Love Spooky Season bag. It came with the chart that I've got in my WIP pile a little bit later on, and the chart doesn't fit perfectly inside the bag and didn't want to fold the chart, so we swapped it out to a different bag. And isn't this amazing? Like the solid quilted back and the printed front. Love it. With this, I'll link Yaz's website below as well. She's a brilliant designer as well. That is 3.3% complete, and yeah, I really need to either pick it up or just call it a day, pick a different fabric. Just need to make a decision on it, and I haven't been able to bring myself to decide on that one yet. Next up, Madame Chantilly Celebrate Christmas, and this is being stitched on 28 count Whisper Grey Lugana from Zweigart. It's a lovely fabric to stitch on. It's beautiful and soft. I have been so pathetic with stitching on this. I probably haven't stitched on it for 2 years. I do want it though. I want to stitch on it. I want to have it. So we're going to keep going. There are, I promise, later on, there are things that I've got like loads and loads of progress on. I'm not just here you go, 200 stitches, started, never to be seen again. Yeah, like I say, it's beautiful fabric. I just need to get it picked up. It's all being stitched in DMC 2/2 on this, like I say, 28 count. And when did I start it? The 1st of July 2022. So this was my Christmas in July start in 2022. 3 years old, and it is there. We'll get it out. I love WIP parades. I love WIP parades. I think I was watching Georgia Girl Stitching, who was stitching this one, or one of the other Madame Chantilly tiered trays, and that's what enabled me to buy this one. And it also means that when I get all of my own projects out, I just really want to stitch on everything. Okay, we've got another Owl Forest one. This is 100 owls. I got the kit. It is actually a free chart on their website, so head over to Owl Forest Embroidery. You can download the chart. I believe it does come with a DMC conversion if you wanted to stitch it all in DMC, or you can buy the thread packs on their own. I got the whole kit, so I got fabric as well, and all of the, so they send you one big chart, but they also send you like pieces that you can cut out for just individual motifs, which is great when you've got the needle minder. You can just magnetize it to your work and refer to it rather than having the whole piece of paper. I think it's genius. I think I might have to just start printing out multiple copies of my paper charts and cutting them into pieces so that I can refer to them. In my last Owl Forest one, I showed you the thread keep that I had for it. This is the other one. For this one, again, I need to sit down, actually fill it with all of the lovely threads. Which one this? These are so clever. I need to sit down and do these. I also need to get the project out and work on it a little bit. So many beautiful threads. What's that? That was from the needle minder. So the kits always come with a matching needle minder as well. So lots of lovely thread. And then it was a 32 count Zweigart linen that came with it as well. And here is where I am at. I did a centre start all these beautiful owls. And we've got, out of the 100 owls, we've got, what's that, 4, 8, 11, 14. 14 out of 100 owls completed. If you want an actual percentage, that is 5.08%. Gorgeous. I can't wait to get to some of the owls that are at the top. Oh, sorry, this guy. He's right underneath, so I think that's why might be where I go next. But I'm trying to make sure I do my vegetables, I get some of the little motifs in. I'm going to try and work my way to the border. But this border's quite fun. It's different on every side. It's got owls tucked in there as well. And the great part about this chart is they actually name all of the owls, which owls they are supposed to represent in the real natural world. I think it's great. I really want to stitch on this one. When did I start them? They were the 9th of July 2022 that I started those. So 14 whips down. Next we have another UFO. Once again, this is a kit that I've decided I don't like working off the paper pattern. Letty Stitch Flower Shop. This is all full coverage. It's being stitched on a 16 count Ada, which is, it's quite a stiff Ada. And this is as far as I've gotten, which is just a little centre start. What I think I'm going to do is get a piece of 25 count. I think I've got some in my little stash there. Yeah, there it is. I think I'll get this charted in my software, start it again on 25 count and just treat it as a normal full coverage pattern and stitch it teeny tiny. The only thing that I'll have to do is probably adjust the back stitching a little bit, just so that it doesn't end up too bulky on the fabric that I choose. But my friend Jess, CrossStitch Jess, has done loads and loads of black work and stuff on different counts of fabric using different types of thread, so I'll probably reach out to her for advice on what kind of thread to use for single strand back stitching, converting it from a 16 count to a 25 count. She'll know. She'll give me an idea of what brand of thread will work for that. It'll probably be like a Gutermann sewing thread or something like that. But that's a problem for future Rachel, not for right now. So that one's in the no thank you pile until I feel like restarting it. That one originally was started way back on my birthday in 2022, October 2022. Another kit. We were in the midst of moving house, and I was living very briefly just for a few weeks with my parents, and I realised that we'd packed up my house, packed up all of my cross stitching, and I didn't have anything to stitch on. So I ran over to Hobbycraft, like I say, the craft store in the UK, and they had a bit of a sale on. So for 50% off, I got Dimensions Japanese Garden. Beautiful. Again, it's a paper pattern, and I'll show you the key just to give you an idea. Look at all of these multicoloured symbols. Some of them have 2 symbols because you do some of them in full cross stitch with 2 strands, some of them you do in half cross stitch with 4 strands, and it's just a bit mind-boggling, to be honest. And obviously it's dimensions. The stitches are there and chosen to give the piece dimension. There's half strands, one strand back of half stitches for water, and then it's 2 strands of the same colour to make the water a little bit darker. There's blends, there's all sorts. So for my own sanity, this is another one that I'm going to get charted in my charting software so that I can work from it, because that water, absolutely stunning. 4 strands, 2 strands, half cross, 2 different colours. So 1 strand of each. And it's very effective, and once it's all filled in, it will look amazing with the movement of the water. I'm going cross-eyed trying to read the chart. So yeah, I'll get that charted up in my software. I'm using all of the kit materials, all of the threads. I've braided them so that they don't get too tangled. And they are quite clever in that you can just pull one strand out of here and keep everything else attached, but there is going to come a time where I end up accidentally pulling out the whole thing, and then I've just got a floating thread that's not attached to its colour, and I'm going to end up completely confused. So yeah, we'll come to that when we come to it. With lots and lots of beautiful colours, even more greens and blues on their own separately because they wouldn't fit in one of those. I just need to pick it up. Started that on the 5th of December. Right, we're on to the second finish of the video, which is very exciting. This is Pumpkin King by Mama Witch X Stitch. She's on Etsy, I'll link the page. It's all done. I started this on the 24th of January 2023 and finished it the 22nd of February 2024, so it was a little bit over a year. It's stitched on 14 count Ada, which I won in a mystery little box of little scraps of fabric. So this is the size of the fabric that came, and I was like, oh, perfect. And he has been finished temporarily into a frame that I have in my downstairs hallway, and I just kind of opened the back, stuck this in at the front, closed it, folded the fabric around the back and displayed it for Halloween, and then once Halloween was over I took it back out again. So is it a FFO if it's un-FFO'd? Question for you. I'm really happy with that one though. Next, another UFO. Let's see if we can fish this one out of the pile. This is British Stamp by Fiddlesticks AU on Etsy. I'll pop a picture of what it's supposed to look like. This is as far as I got. You can see a little bit of a shadow from where I've unpicked some stitches. Now in the UK, because Fiddlesticks is an Australian designer, in the UK, I don't know if it's green over there, but the first class stamp with the Queen's head on it was purple. And I picked two purples and decided afterwards they really don't go together. Like they're not in the same family of colours really. So I unpicked the outside and I've just not wanted to pick it back up again, and honestly, am I gonna sit down, pick a colour and just stitch the outside of the stamp? Probably not. So a UFO slash FO. Will I do anything with this? I don't know. I could make it into a patch possibly for like a project bag or something. She does look a little bit odd though without having the purple around the outside. Her chin does look a little bit strange. We'll see. We'll see if I turn this into anything. That is another piece of like a sparkly Ada from that same box from that giveaway that I got. Yeah, if you've got any ideas on what I should do with old Liz's head here, please answers in the comments. I will take any suggestions. Next up, a project bag that I made myself using this. I mean, directional fabric stumped me for a little bit there. I got these fat quarters from Aldi and I turned them into a project bag using the Elizabeth Ankenstitch YouTube tutorial. It's Prefect's bathroom. I'll pop a picture on the screen of what it's going to look like. And I am 2.5% of the way through. I've decided that I'm going to stitch the black first. Whether I stitch all of the black first or just the first page of black first, I don't know. This is where we're at. This is being stitched on another piece of 25 count, easy count, Lugana 1/1 full cross. Using CXC thread. Again, another one that I just need to get out. I started doing some of those. There's some Facebook groups where they do like stitching challenges. So like this week you need to stitch on something using black thread or red thread, or stitch on something that has water, or stitch on something from that makes you happy or that you're ready to gift, or these like different challenges, and when you've got as many works in progress as I do, you've probably got something to fulfill every little brief. But I then find myself doing it for like 3 or 4 weeks, and then I'll be like, I'm done. So maybe I need to get back into doing that to pick up some of these projects that aren't getting as much love. Maybe. We'll see. That was WIP number 16. So WIP number 17 is in a Turtle Bay Stitches project bag with this cute little pumpkin keyring on the zipper. And the chart is from, I've got the whole magazine in here, sorry, let me try and get it out. World of CrossStitching Magazine, issue 324, October 2022. I am eventually going to stitch that Peter Rabbit pattern that's on the cover because adorable, but at the moment I am stitching this. This is Nature's Bounty by Perry Abdelhadi, and it's adorable. I love it. I'm stitching it on 32 count Coffee Craft fabric, even weave. Megan, the dyer behind Coffee Craft, does not name her fabrics, so I don't know if I can tell you how to get a piece of this, but here is where we are. I love how vibrant all of the colours are in this one. Absolutely gorgeous. So this is the whole piece. I've done a centre start. This is another one where I'm not loving working from the magazine, so I think I either need to try and find it from the designer or sit and chart it myself. I started that the 19th of March 2022. I think I went on a bit of a starting spree. No, not 2022, 2023. And I went on a bit of a starting spree in 2023 because I did Mania, which is like where you do a crazy number of starts or whips or things like that. So maybe I need to do Mania where I stitch on all of the things that I started for Mania in May and try and get loads of progress that way. But also I need to pick up things like this. That would be another thing that would be really good for like these stitching challenges on Facebook. But again, it's a case of time. Who's got the time? People have the time. People who don't try and run a business and look after and keep alive 2 small children while their husbands are working away. We'll get there. We'll have plenty of time. All of these are gonna either bring me joy while I'm stitching them, keep my hands busy, and I will finish them eventually. But yeah, it's a hobby, isn't it? No stress, no pressure. Okay. Next, we have WIPs 18 through 27. And I'll show you why. So this is a canny little fox home case, which I ordered from her Instagram page. I will link that below. This is what it looks like on the inside. So I've got all of my charts and some of my CXC threads in there. In here, I've got all of the patterns. I've got the specialty threads. I've got my scissors. I've got needles, magnetic cable ties, and 2 pieces of fabric for the 2 that I need to start. So this is the Joyful World series from the Snowflower Diaries. These are free charts. I will link her blog below, and if you search for the month that you want to stitch, it'll bring up the chart. This is a picture I found on the internet. I was unable to find the source to credit the stitcher, but this is all of the months stitched as one. I'm going to be stitching them all individually, and I'm stitching where because it's all charted in Gentle Arts thread, where the colour is in either the animal, the main animal in the picture, or where it's in the title, the month. I'm using the called for Gentle Arts. Everything else I'm using the alternative that they provide in CXC. So for example, this is a fox, and I'm using the Gentle Art Fragrant Clothes because that's in the fox, and then I think it's apple cider for the word. I'm using that, and then otherwise I'm using the DMC that's on the side. I hope that makes sense. That's what I'm doing with those. So let me get out all of the ones that I've started. I have started 10 of 12 months. Come on, in you go. In you go. Try not to make too much cream cutting noises as I go. So we're stitched on, they're all Zweigart, 32 count, I think. Vintage Cream or Vintage Country Mocha. So starting strong with January on Vintage Cream. February? No, this is March. I've not started February. And then I've not started April either. So February and April are the two I need to get started. So January, March, May. June. That was a start just to say that I'd started it. I also managed to start it on the wrong side. So the Vintage Cream and the Vintage Country Mocha are printed fabrics. So on the back it's just this plain cream colour, and then they print on the mottling to make it vintage. I started that on the back of it, so realistically I should probably just frog, that's the bear's nose. I should probably just frog that and stitch it on the correct side, shouldn't I? July. August. September, Vintage Country Mocha. October. November. And December. It's there, I promise. 18 through 27. I started the first one on 1st of May. I started May, and then in every month, apart from obviously February and April, after that I'd start the next one with the intention of I'd pick it up in the month that we were in and stitch away. I haven't done that, obviously, so we've been going since 2023 with those, but we'll get there eventually to get those all stitched up. And what I'd like to do is have like a magnetic board so that I can decorate it with fabric or whatever, and stick some like washers or something to the back of each month so that I can swap them out. Maybe like a tin where I can swap out the front for each month. I've seen someone do it. If I can find a link to where I've seen someone with a monthly swap tin, I will link it below if I can find it. But that's what I've got in my head for those, for when they are eventually finished, like a flat finish that I can magnetise to the outside of a tin and keep all of the others on the inside. Right. So we are in Mania 2023 now. That was the 1st of May 2023. The 5th of May, because I finished the one that I started on the 3rd. The 5th of May I started the fox, which is the Year in the Woods by Cottage Garden Samplings. They're doing the Year in the Woods too. They've had 3 so far, which was the koala, the sugar glider and the wolf, and they are amazing. So I'm probably gonna, I've got all of the Year in the Woods first series. I'm collecting the Year in the Woods second series. We're gonna do them all. Anyway, the fox. This is being stitched on 32 count pearl grey linen from Zweigart. I'm going to stitch all of them on 32 count. here is where I'm at. I'm using everything as called for. I'm using CXC instead of DMC, and I think it's chalk it calls for, and I'm just using 3865 for the chalk. Again, I think it's another one that I just want to sit down and chart it into my software and work from my tablet. I think that will help get me more like going with it, get some more progress. Next I started the Barn Owl from the same series a couple of days later, which is that one. And I'm stitching that on a coffee craft fabric, which is again a 32 count. Same again, using the called for, except for I'm switching it to CXC instead of DMC. Here's where I'm at with the owl. I love this fabric. Come on, the other corner. There we go. I think it's going to look really fab on that fabric. That was, like I said, the 11th I started that one. And there is another project in there that I will come back to in a second. Oh no. Oh no. We've got an owl forest thread. Gonna have to figure out which one that came out of. Whoopsie. My next start on the 13th of May 2023 was a stitch along. I started the Lola Crow Greenhouse of Oddities Sal, which, as you can tell by the fact that the Sal has long since finished and I have not, I did not manage to keep up with. It's being stitched on a 32 count coffee craft fabric, 2/2, and here is where I'm at. That's a pretty good representation of the fabric. I love this fabric. It looks so cool. I've got a whole other half of it that I can use, so I'm excited to see what I'm going to pop on the other bit. I'm not even really doing it like release by release. I'm just kind of going where the whim takes me. I was inspired quite heavily. I visited the Annick Gardens Poison Garden earlier this year, which has gates that say these plants can kill. I'll see if I can find the picture and pop it up. That I went to see that. I saw all the poison plants and the is it the belladonna? I can't remember. I'm not very good with names, but I saw some of the plants that feature in this stitch, so I had to pick it up. So it did get a lot of progress. We're now at 60.2%, I believe, and 2/2 in CXC threads is what I'm stitching it in. It's in a Turtle Bay Stitches project bag. I need to get that one finished. I've got another Lola Crow stitch along in the WIP pile, and I've also got the Aviary Extraordinary Birds Sal that she's currently releasing. So, but I haven't started that one yet. I'm reining myself in. I do love her stuff. They're absolutely fantastic. In a CrossStitch Jess mini project bag, I have something completely unrelated to cats. This is Ink Circle's Ghostly Mandala. It's another coffee craft fabric. It's 32 count, and I'm stitching this in silk. I'm stitching it in Dinky Dye's Sugar Plum. Which is looking amazing. That was another Mania start. That was the 15th of May. 2/2 in that Dinky Dye's silk. And it's another one, I just need to pick it up. Once you get going, it's great. It was a magazine start. I'll see if I can link, or at least put which issue down below. It's also available from the Ink Circle's website. I got mine as from a digital version of the magazine. I think is it just Cross Stitch? Might be. Can't remember. Everything will be on the screen for that one. Then I started in a project bag that I've made myself using another Aldi fat quarter bundle. This is on a Chromatic Alchemy fabric, who sadly does not dye fabrics anymore. The colour of this is actually also called Sugar Plum. And this is by Nadezhda Kazarina, and it's the Dragon in the Lilies. This is a little over 10% complete, I believe. Let me check. This is on Saga. This comes in Saga. No, this is 18.6% complete. Mostly the wing there that I've been working on recently. I picked this up recently. Lynn, the Lancashire Stitcher, was doing a dragon sow. I'll pop the hashtag below because I can't remember it off the top of my head, but a dragon sow for her mum. So I picked this one up briefly to stitch along for that. Sorry, we're folding everything up and putting it away. We are avoiding chaos as much as possible. And where are we? That was WIP number 33. WIP 34. It's quite a small one. It's another. In fact, no, it's not. Next was on the 19th of May. I started the bear. So I started 3 of these cottage garden sampling ones in May, third of which was the bear. This is being stitched on a 32 count Smoky Pearl by Zweigart, and I did get a lot of this done. I say a lot of this, it's not a lot of it, it's a chunk of it compared to the others. I've got all that house and the bear's paws there. This is 2/2. Again, the Weeks die works as called for, and then CXC. And all 3 of those cottage garden samplings live in this project bag from Sophie at Turtle Bay Stitches and Turtle Bay Textiles. I link her fabric shop down below as well. She is now online. And she's got some lovely printed cottons that are on there if you fancy making your own project bags. And I think at some point she'll have the project bags up on there as well. But as I'm more than aware, getting a website up and running the way that you want it, etc., it's not a small job. So there is a lot of stuff that's already on there. I think her site's been on nearly a week. So it's very new, it's very exciting. And then this one, the 21st of May, we started Welcome to Rivendell by Country Magic Stitch. On the same fabric as the other one that I've started, which is a 16 count pewter. And that's it. That's less than 1%. That was a pile collapsing. I think very shortly we'll have to have a bit of a tidy up before we go on to the next bag. That is all in DMC, I believe. Yeah, DMC, because I kitted that up before I had the CXC. Okay. On the 23rd, still in Mania, in a project bag that I made myself. I love this size. This is 8 by 10 inches. I started my first ever Mill Hill. This is the Mighty Oak Quartet. This comes with Ada rather than paper, as I know a lot of the Mill Hill kits do. A dangling thread. There we go. I started this on the 23rd of May, and this is as far as I've got. I love her in a little witch outfit down there, going trick-or-treating. This is another one. Maybe I'll also chart this one into my software, because while it's only a little paper pattern, actually setting it up so that I can stitch comfortably is difficult with paper. So I'm going to be sat probably doing more charting than the designers that have got Needlework Marketplace coming up. Okay, next we started on the 29th of May. No, we've got to finish. The 25th of May I started Snowy Reindeer by Country Cottage Needleworks. Took me a minute there. Cottage just seems to appear in loads of designer names that I keep forgetting. Anyway, Snowy Reindeer, it's part of the series. In fact, here we go. Yeah, Country Cottage Needleworks. That's Bluebird Cabin, which I've got kitted up and ready to go. My little kitted piles there of the little ones. It's got the Just Another Button Company button on it, and yeah, all finished. Really happy with that. I think it's a little bit big for like a Christmas tree ornament, possibly. I think I'm gonna like finish it on a piece of foam board to just get like a proper idea of how big it's going to be, and then possibly do a flat fold on, like a flat finish ornament for my Christmas tree with all of them. I've not decided yet. I might leave it until I've done all 9 in the series, and then I don't know, we'll see. That is all the called for. So it's the called for bear with me 1 second. It's the called for pearl grey, so I got linen. Called for shutter green for the trees, move my head, and CXC for everything else. And you can see I've just initialed it really tiny. RB24. Finish. Then on the 29th I started this from Wonderland, Ukraine. This is a piece of coffee craft fabric. This is 28 count even weave. Here is where I'm at. Now this is very stitch heavy, as you can probably already tell. It's going to take some doing. I'm stitching it all in CXC 2/2. I'm 8.2% complete on this at the moment. Absolutely beautiful. This is as far, thankfully, to the left as the pattern goes. I did a centre start because the margins are really tiny. I'll probably sew some fabric down the sides and maybe do like a fabric finish. So my friend Sophie of Turtle Bay Textiles has done a couple of cross stitch finishes where instead of like mount board inside the frame, she's finished it using like sewing on some decorative fabric and using that as the mount in between that and the frame. I need to get her to teach me how to do it because I probably butcher it, but it looks absolutely stunning. If I can get a picture of one of her finishes that she's done with that fabric, it looks so effective and is a great way of finishing something that's got a really small border. So anyway, look at me talking about how I'm going to finish things when I'm 8% of the way through after 3 years. Honestly. A project bag that I made for myself. I'd bought this fabric from Hobbycraft and made my husband a laptop bag, and had a little bit left over, enough to make my favourite size 8x10 project bag. So because that's a digital pattern, it fits perfectly in here. It also fits the Mill Hills perfectly inside this size project bag as well. Egyptian scarab. So in this one Sophie made in my favourite size. Not festive at all, this project, but here we are. It's by Needleart Designs. I started this on the on the 3rd of June, and I believe I started this with Lindsay of Wolfie Stitches. Egyptian Scarab. This is 16.7% complete. The wings are beautiful and large, and there's a lovely hieroglyphic border to go around it as well. It's stitched on 32 count white even weave, just probably a Spygart scrap. I love it. I love the colours. I've always been a fan of like history, mythology, all that kind of stuff. So do love that. Then we have, and I butcher saying this every single time, Sampler Santa. I made this project bag. This is a Coffee Craft linen. No, it's a Coffee Craft Ada 20 count. In this incredible icy design. And I'm stitching this using 3809, and that is 10.4% complete. I love it. I love the tone on tone. It's not, well, it's not even tone on tone because the thread's a little bit greener than the fabric, but I think it's just going to look really frosty and amazing. So it's perfect for a Christmassy design. And I'm not much of a blue at Christmas kind of gal. I like it. I like my reds and my golds. I know there's some people have like silver and blue for their trees. That's just not my vibe. It looks beautiful. It's just not my kind of thing. But this, for some reason, absolutely works for me. Really does it for me. I fold that up. I should probably cut this fabric down to size because I don't need the whole thing. That's the thread and the inside of my bag. Okay, and we've come to the end of this tote. So, I say tote, we're talking like bag for life. That's the end of that one. I'm going to have a bit of a tidy up, put some things back, and then we will grab the next one. Okay, new bag. Right. This I made myself. Probably won't attempt again. Pretty proud of how it's turned out, but I did cut the elastic too short, so it's a bit of a bendy situation. Anyway, this is Milk and Cookie Co. by Spooky and Steve. I started this on the 18th of July, so this was a Christmas in July start. So 1/1 on 18 count white Ada, and I've heavily edited this, heavily. It's about 30% complete, and I have, so I have recharted almost the entire bottom section here. So we are British, so we like to add extra U's in everything. So recharted that to say favourite spelt correctly. And also there was like an established, since 1943 at the bottom, which that date is meaningless to us. So I've recharted it for my children's names. But then I've thought, well, if I want, because hang on, travel with me here on this train of thought. I'm thinking that I'd like to frame this in like a deep box frame with the glass right at the bottom, and then put some handles on either side of the frame so that it can be a tray. Visualize that if you can. And then I thought, well, if I do that and do my children's names, and it becomes like part of our Christmas tradition to have like the milk and cookies out on this tray for Santa, what happens when they have kids? They're not gonna want to take one that's got their brother's name on it or their sister's name on it as well. So then I thought maybe I'd do our surname at the bottom, the Barkers, but then who gets it? So I think I might have to be doing 2 of these. So I'm gonna rechart it again to have my kids' names taken off and our family name put in, and then potentially do 2. That's big words, isn't it, for someone that doesn't finish anything? Anyway, this is like 30% complete. I need to milk and then baking Santa over there, the rest of the green frame on the other side, and then the red banner at the bottom. I'm using all the called for colours. I've done a lot of squiffing around because I've added an extra letter. I've had to move the rest of that like little phrase at the bottom around. I was getting very brave at this point, making my own project wallets and recharting and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I'm really happy with how the recharting has gone, but I'm second guessing what I've charted, to put it succinctly. Love that though. I need to get that out again for Christmas, I think. It's another one of those where I reckon if I sat and actually concentrated on it for like 4 hours, I could potentially get it done. 4 or 5 hours? Is that big words? Possibly. Okay, where are we now? This is my Soda Stitch wallet. I used a tutorial by Elizabeth Ann Can Stitch again for doing this one. It's got a magnet closure, binding, a couple of thingy in there, and a zips style one on this side. I started this with Bernadette of Burn Stitches, Jordan of Tattooed Stitcher, and Rogue Mama Stitcher. I'm so sorry. They did like a soda slumber party. I nearly called it a sleepover. That's the British term. Slumber party, where they all kind of started over the course of one weekend, and they had like a video call and that kind of stuff, which I obviously wasn't on. But I decided that I was going to gate crash virtually and start my own Soda Stitches. So that being said, I started 2. I started this one. Is this the first one I started? I started this one. This is finished. This is Flower Girl by Soda Stitch. It's stitched on 18 count sherbet dip by Stitchy Ferret. It was started on the 26th of July 2023 and I finished it this year, 28th of April. I have obviously, as you can probably tell if I put a cover photo in, I've done a conversion. So I previously stitched a similar one to this, which is on display in my daughter's room, which I'd converted the pink skirt for a purple one because the fabric. And then I thought, well, let's make a matching pair. So what I need, in fact, no, it's not on display. I think it's in here. It's called Clean Day. So what I need to do is finish this one in a similar hoop. I actually need to sign this one as well. And I'm trying to remember to sign all of my, you can see it just to the bottom there, my initials. Trying to initial all of my finishes. So yeah, I need to get it initialed and then get it in a hoop, and then I need to get both of these up on my daughter's wall. But yeah, I'm really happy to have gotten that one finished. And then I also started on that same weekend, so one day later on the 27th, I started Summer Holiday by Soda Stitch. And this is where I'm up to on that one. So this is in Pattern Keeper, not Cross Stitch Saga, so it doesn't include all of the back stitch in the completion number. But this is about 27% complete. This is a Coffee Craft 40 count even weave. And it's very creased. But you can tell exactly what it's supposed to be, which is great. And I'm stitching 1/2 in CXC thread. I love the Soda Stitch ones. It's one of those where there's so many to choose from that it takes me ages to pick what I want to stitch. But once I pick one, they're actually they stitch up quite quickly, and the back stitch is just incredible. Move my notes out of the way so I can put this away. My next start was started at, was it my first retreat? I think it might have been my very first retreat. It was the first time that I met in person, face to face, Sophie from Turtle Bay Textiles, and we decided that we were going to do a stitch along to commemorate our meeting and our friendship. So it's from this book, which we both had, Cross Stitch for the Earth, again Stitch Rovia, Emma Congdon. It is, pardon the weeds, we're feeding the bees. Now, we did not pick well. This is not a retreat stitching piece. Let me pop this down. So it's in, Sophie made me a project bag, the little hexagons inside. It's all backstitch and it's all counting. So the number of times that I would be sat there and I'd be talking to someone and I'd look down and be like, I have no idea what I'm doing. I have no idea where I am. I have no idea what I'm doing. Lots and lots of counting. Terrible, terrible retreat piece. But beautiful, beautiful cross stitch piece. It's stitched on Fibre on a Whim, Milk and Honey in 18 count. And here is where I am. It's looking really dainty, really cute. And I don't know if you can tell, but there isn't a whole lot of cross stitching in there. It is mostly back stitch. So, you know, you get like maybe a dozen stitches here and then a few more stitches here, and then the inside of the flower, inside of the flower, like on that side. It's just not a lot of stitching. And then obviously I like to do the back stitching last so that it overlaps the stitches the way that it's supposed to. So yeah, we messed up, but I think it's still in both of our WIP piles. I know there's a few people that joined us for a Pardon the Weeds Sal, and I've seen a few finishes of this. It's such a stunning little piece. I want to stitch everything out of all of the Emma Congdon books, but we'll stick with one from each for now. Stitching CXC, and did I tell you? No, I didn't tell you when I started that. It was the 29th of July that we started that one at retreat. Next we started, it was Witchy Stitcher weekend. So the designer behind Witchy Stitcher had some health issues, and the community did what the community does and rallied. So you were encouraged to stitch on, purchase, stock up, inflate your stash of all of your Witchy Stitcher wish list and all of the WIPs and stuff. So I got on board. I picked up, how many patterns did I pick up? I think I picked up 3 and I started 2 of them. The first one I started on the 12th of August was In Motion, Bottle That Shit Up. So I'll pop a cover photo on for you. This is about a quarter finished, believe it or not. 23%. And it's a piece of coffee craft fabric in 36 count. It's an even weave. It's very soft. And it's another one where I should probably cut it to size because I don't need it that big. Is that's better. But it's a little bit more purple than it's coming up, but it looks fab. And this is a project bag that I made myself. It's highly imperfect. I made two of those in the same fabric, and I gave one away on the channel. and I made sure to keep the slightly wonky one for myself. We don't do things perfect, we do things made with love. So, where are we? How many? Oh no, I did pick up 3 witchy stitch patterns, and I actually finished one. So the next one that I started, also on the 12th, on a 32 count coffee craft, was Nightmare Before Coffee, and that's a finish. Okay. Trying to get it into the natural sunlight to show you the colours, but all called for CXC, and it's a, do I say it's coffee craft fabric? Coffee craft fabric, I think that's a 32 count as well. Then the final witchy stitcher one that I started that weekend in a project bag that I've made myself is Apothecary Shop. This one I need to get into. The other 2 that I'd ordered went into Pattern Keeper, but this one didn't, so I think I need to sit and chart it. This is as far as I am. I love the back stitching, how that makes it, it's like quite delicate. I started this a couple of days later, the 14th of August 2023, 2/2 on 28 count cashel linen from Zweigart, and I'm just using 310 CXC 310 because I do really like the coverage that CXC black gives. You can see very little through of the fabric through. Again, should probably cut down the fabric because there's tons of it. You don't need all of that. But we're going to refold it in a different form so that we don't embed those creases too much. In this bag there is literally, I must have pinched the 310 to use somewhere else because that is literally what I've got left in there. That's one length of. It's alright, it's 310. I've got loads of it. There's tons of it. I'll find some more. I don't know why I've pinched it from there. That, we're on WIP 43. Next is a finish, and I love this finish. It's a fully finished, an FFO. This is by Mama Loves You GB. It's Nessie Mitchell. And here is my finish. This is stitched on 32 count cappuccino by Fibre on a Whim. I started it on the 5th of September 2023 for Sampler September, and I finished it on the 7th of September 2024, so a little bit over a year. It's been framed by Lisa at Atelier Frames, and as you can probably tell by how little it's reflecting, it's got art glass in it. So if you were ever wondering, I'll show you this properly a little bit later, but if I get, that's the not art glass, and that is how glary it is. Absolutely love it. It's going to be a bit of a, what's the word? No, go on. I'm going to hand it down. It's going to hand down through my family. So it is, like I say, it's called Nessie Mitchell. It's charted to say Nessie Mitchell 1923. Can't remember the town that she's put in. Sorry Michelle. I recharted it because I'm a recharting master these days, apparently, for Anne Selina Willoughby, 1879 Wakefield. Now, Anne Selina Willoughby is my children's great grandmother. She, by all accounts, was a wonderful woman and raised my husband's grandfather from when he was just a couple of years old, when his mother died, and was just everything that a wonderful woman should be. Caring and came from pretty horrific upbringing to be a very special woman indeed. So she is immortalised. She lives actually up on my wall just behind me. I've taken her down so that I could show you, and I'm obsessed with this frame and the framing, and Lisa is so talented. So if you're in the UK, I know she's at a lot of retreats at the moment, going round, it feels like all over the country. So if you do get the opportunity to have something framed by her, I highly recommend it. Right, she's going back where she belongs. She's out of shot, but she's up there. Okay, next. This is a big one, and I'm questioning myself on it. This is is it a UFO, or is it just get on with it? This is Saga by Long Dog Samplers. I'm stitching it on 18 count white Ada. Now, this piece is a massive piece, and I decided not to do a 40 count. I decided to do an 18 count because there's a lot of single strand back stitch in it. So I wanted to be able to stitch using 2 strands so that I could make the back stitch work. Sorry, we're refolding it so that it's ready to go back in the bag, but also so that you can actually see it without me holding a bed sheet over my face. So anyway, let me show you, and I'll talk you through it. This is where I am. I am a little shy of 6% complete, which gives you an idea of the scale of this thing. I have got myself let me get my threads out. I've got myself a selection of threads that get progressively darker. Is that the same? Anyway, 5. I've got five shades of blue that get progressively darker. Lightest, slightly darker, until the bottom row of arches would be the darkest blue. And I don't know if I love it on the Ada, because there's a lot of empty space in between stitches, and I love the way that even weaving linen looks on unstitched areas more than I do for the Ada. But isn't it amazing? What do I do? Do I just keep going with it? What do you think? The reason this is my example for, right, this little fella down here. You see him? I feel like if I'd done it on too small a count and then tried to backstitch in his legs, it would just have looked too, it wouldn't have been as defined. It does that. I have all of these weird and wonderful thought processes that probably make no sense to anybody else. I don't know. I'm happy with how it looks for the stitching. It's the fabric background that I'm not sure of. Let me know what you think. We love it, or do we think, nah, get that on a piece of even weave or something. Sorry, we're trying to fold it backwards to the way that it has been previously folded so that we don't end up. Okay. Like I say, 6%. So what's that? That's a few thousand stitches, I think. Next one. Right, this bag. Oh my goodness. This, I believe, is by, I got the card in here. Bear with me, I'm going to have a look. Yeah, it's by Anne of Stitch Magic. Right, I'm going to have to open it. But this is the back. And then let's get all of the gubbins out. Oh my god. So again, I will link below. This is gorgeous. So this contains my Owl Forest embroidery peach cranes. I really enjoyed this this chart because it's got a lot of satin stitches, which is always a little bit interesting. But my goodness, trying to follow a pattern of satin stitches on 40 count is enough to make you completely cross-eyed. So I can't really stitch on this very regularly because I do need to be awake, alert, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and also have really good light. So it's hard work, but we'll get there eventually. It's a coffee craft fabric, 40 count, even weave, peach cranes by Owl Forest Embroidery. And this is one where I didn't buy the kit, I just bought the floss pack. So this sun in the middle there is actually just one thread. I love it. It is charted on a green, but I love it on this purple. And then, as you can see, there's the Owl Forest threads. Do you see what I mean by getting more confident with thread choices and colour choices and stuff like that? Like when I started stitching, even just starting stitching from patterns, because I didn't even know that was a thing. I thought you could only spend £50 on a kit and then that was it. But when I first started stitching from patterns, I never would have thought, yeah, do you know what, purple, switch it from green to purple, do it. I never would have, ever. So thank you, Flosstube, for all that you've done. Twisted Band Sampler is next. Let me pop up a picture on the screen because I don't have the chart in the bag. I started, oh sorry, Peach Cranes, it's the 1st of November 2023. We're still in 2023 and we are currently 8.2% of the way through that one. Twisted Band Sampler. This was a gift from my lovely, lovely husband. He was very sensible and he went on my Lakeside Needlecraft wish list and made some selections. So I started this the 5th of November, which is not long after my birthday. I'm stitching it 2/2 and it's on a 32 count anthracite Murano even weave from Zweigart. It is the fabric that he purchased. He purchased the chart, he purchased the fabric, and then I've kitted it up with CXC. I actually stock this chart in my shop, and I also stock the silk pack to go with it. And let me tell you, the number of times that I have taken that silk pack out and thought, should I restart it? Should I treat myself and stitch it in silk? And I still haven't. I haven't done that, and I think it will be determined the next time I pick it up and actually put some more stitches in it in the CXC. It'll be like, right, I've carried on, even after having these thoughts. I've carried on, and we're not gonna change. But the silks are beautiful. Anyway, here is where we're at. I'm doing the specialty stitches version, so you can see in there. Oh, it looks so pretty. Oh, I want to stitch on this right now. So that's actually 2 colours are completed on that one. I've got the whole rainbow there, ready to go. And I think it just looks stunning on this grey. So, yeah, it's another one. This is a paper pattern, but the pattern, having it in paper for the specialty stitches, it's got some amazing diagrams on how to do the specialty stitches that it's actually worth doing that in paper, to me anyway. That's number 46. So 47 is another Stitch Rovia piece. This is again from a magazine, but it's available on her Etsy shop as Christmas Holidays, I think she's called it. I got it out of a magazine. I'll put the cover photo up. Stitching it in CXC on this amazing piece of fabric that I picked up off a D-stash table which is, I think it's 16 count Ada. It's Fabric Flare Gingerbread Men. I started this, I did like a 12 starts of Christmas, where I did 12 Christmas starts and I did 12 not Christmas starts, or should I say festive, 12 festive starts, 12 non-festive starts. So this was the first one, 1st of December. Yeah, 16 count Gingerbread Man Ada from Fabric Flare, 2/1 in the CXC. And again, it is mostly back stitching, so it's not in Pattern Keeper or anything like that. But this is definitely a go-to Christmas movies. What are your go-to Christmas movies? Mine are Last Christmas with, is it Emilia Clarke? For some reason, absolutely love it, won't stop watching it. And probably Home Alone. Those are my two go-tos that I have to watch every year. Other than that, I kind of cycle through all of the Christmas films. But it's not Christmas until I've watched Last Christmas. Next start of 12 starts of Christmas was, it's in a Christmas bag because of the 12 starts of Christmas, and it's hands-on design irony. This is a part of a trio. I think I've got one of the other ones in the stash ready to go. I need to pick up the third. Again, it's stitched in CXC. It's 2/1 on 16 count white Ada. And this is the one that kind of, I take it, it's just one of those I grab, chuck it in my bag, and I take it to soft play and kids' birthday parties and stuff. Anywhere where I might have a bit of peace and quiet and just need something to keep myself occupied while the kids are off doing their own thing. Not doing too shabby on that one, probably about halfway through. Needle Minder was a gift from a friend. It was actually a wedding favour. Fridge magnet for everyone else, and Needle Minder for the stitchy friends. Love that. I will do the whole trio and then probably have them framed, I say, frame them myself and stick them in our utility room. Yeah, it's got a needle in there, and it also has a pair of scissors that live in there. I think Jess mentioned someone on her Flosstube, Jess, CrossStitch Jess, who calls it ABC stitching. Always bring cross stitch, which I think is fab. So this is my ABC stitch. Always there, ready to just grab and go. Next up was a finish. I started this on the 5th of December and finished it in February this year, 13th of February 2024, so a little over a year ago. This is You Know Dasher by Helen D, or what's her? She's Helen D on Flosstube anyway. She's got a different name on Instagram. This is 28 count even weave in Iced Coffee by Fabric Flare. The only change that I made to this one was I got some red Krynic to make Rudolph's red nose a sparkly one. And that will be, I'll do that as a flat fold, I think, and have it as like a long Christmas ornament when I eventually get round to doing some fully finishing. We've got next start was, it's quite a little one. This is Art Nouveau Fox by Needleart Designs. It's about 6% complete. Sorry, we're rummaging in the bag to get to it now. Little Turtle Bay Stitches project bag. It's on a 40 count even weave from Coffee Craft, and it's just a teeny tiny start. Move that out of the way. Just the top. Come on, get out of the way. There we go. Just the top. Where's that? Right. That was so confusing because I had my hands the wrong way around. I still couldn't figure out which hand was which. Top right, start. like I say, about 6%, doing it 1/2 in CXC threads, and I started that the 7th of December. I've got all of the threads there are on floss drops from Just Get Stitching. They're like a clay and resin, I believe. And then if anyone's interested in how I label them, it's literally just a sticky label, and because they are resin coated, the little sticky label does come off. I won't be doing that now, but it does. Okay, next, if you can believe it, we've got 2 finishes in a row. So the first one is my Christmas Tiny Town, which is, I started on the 8th of December as part of that 12 Starts of Christmas. I then subsequently decided to, because I'd stitched maybe half of the house, I decided to join Sherry, Just So Sherry. We have like a, it's almost a bit of a tradition now where we always have a Christmas stitch along on the go, which we are stitching together over the course of a period of months, so 6 months, and we try and get them finished in X amount of time. I'll show you the one that we've got currently on the go in a minute, but I managed to keep up. I say keep up, I managed to catch up. I finished it in time. I didn't keep up along the way, but I did finish it in time. So started it on the 8th of December 2023, barely touched it until January of this year, at which point I managed to finish it in 6 months. So 28th of June I finished this year. It's stitched on 32 count latte by Fibre on a Whim, and it's done. It's got all of the buttons on there and everything. What I did decide to do was there was a blue called for, and I decided not to bother with the blue because the only thing it was appeared in was Christmas tree decorations in here and on the bunting there. So I decided skip it entirely, filled it in with I think red, and then for the bunting I just alternated red and green for all of them. But that's the only change that I made in these. There's a little bit of cat hair, pet glitter in there, and I've actually got a spool from Cheryl at Stitching Woodcraft, which is designed to hold a tiny town stitched on 32 count, so I will get it finished on a spool. But I want to finish it in such a way that I can take it off, so that when it's not Christmas I can put another tiny town on it. So because of that little thing, I'm hesitant to get started on the finishing process. But I will get it done, she says, at some point. Next up, another finish. This was a kit that we got from Sammy at Floss Friends Retreat. It's called On the Beach. On the Beach, Sandy Toes and Sun-Kissed Nose, and I finished it using all of the furnishing materials that she provided, and that's obviously been on display for summer. I started that was again 12 Starts of Christmas, so the 10th of December 2023, and I finished it on the 13th of June 2024. It's my first time using pom-pom trim, so I'm pretty happy with how it turned out in the end. Next, in my bag I made myself, like I said, it fits meal fill kits perfectly. Blue Jay. It's a very small start. I don't think I've stitched on this since I started it. Just along the bottom there, and that is a lot of beads as well. I've decided to bead as I go. It's obviously not something that's going to end up in a hoop, so we're just beading as we go. And yeah, you can see that it's white along there. You can't actually tell, but I have started stitching the white along the bottom. And yeah, just all of the kit materials in there. What I do want, if anyone knows of anyone that sells those magnetic frames, I'd really like to stock those in the shop. So if anyone knows of anyone, get them in touch with me. because I really want one. No, right, strawberry season. So I mentioned Yaz earlier in the video. She's a lovely designer. She's a lovely lady who I've had the pleasure of meeting. I am stitching strawberry season. This is such a pathetic start. 13th of December I started this, and that's as far as I got. So as you can see, I've put a thread in ready to start on the strawberries, but I've not actually got any further than that. This is 32 count affogato by Fibre on a Whim. Yeah. Ow, that was my elbow. And I'm stitching that in CXC. I think it's called for in weeks and DMC, but I'm just doing it all in CXC. That's 51. 52. Am I going to continue with 52 is a really good question. It's being kept in this, which is completely unrelated to the project inside. This is a bag made by Sammy of Little Loops, and it's this, the Cotton and Twine November 2022 design, Merry and Bright. So this was obviously one of my festive starts. I started it on the 14th of December. So it's Historical Sampler Company subscription box where they send all of these out, and it came with the little hanger to hang it from, kit Ada, kit threads, which I believe are DMC. That's where I'm at. Although now I'm looking at it, I'm liking it even more. It even comes with finishing instructions. Maybe I just need to get this out and stitch it. Just do it. Just do it, Rachel. Just get it done. Yeah, maybe I'll do that. Maybe I should get that out next. Okay. Pop you away. Number 53 in Turtle Bay Stitches is Mermaids of the Season Sal. So I signed up for this before we knew what they were going to look like. They started being released and I was a little bit disappointed. And I've spoken about this before. I think it was more a problem with my expectations than with the design itself. The design is lovely. I was expecting more, but I really shouldn't have been, because it was designed as a stitch along where you were going to stitch a mermaid a month. So why was I expecting something to be more intricate and detailed when we were supposed to be stitching one a month, you know? Like if I'd actually sat down and thought about it, of course it wasn't going to be like a full mermaid like all of the other Bella Filipina designs are. It's going to be smaller, more compact and less detailed, particularly in the face. So like I say, it's not the design, it was my expectations of the design that were flawed. I didn't end up starting it until the last one was released, the winter one was released. And I actually really love the winter one. So I decided, actually, I'm just going to stitch one. I'm not going to stitch the border, I'm not going to stitch the word winter, I'm just going to stitch the mermaid. So I'm stitching the winter mermaid, and here it is. We've just got her seat at the moment with a little bit of the cry nick from the splashing wave. This is a fabric that was dyed especially for the Sal. It's an opal even weave in 28 count from Coffee Craft Fabrics. And let's see if I can kind of get the colours. It is beautiful and sparkly. Yeah, kind of. It's a lovely aqua colour in real life. Nope, not going to happen. But because I bought it specifically for the Sal, it is actually big enough to do all four if you'd laid them out in the 2x2 format that the pattern gave you. But obviously because I'm not doing that, I'm just doing one, I've just done her over here. So I started that on the 21st of December anyway. Next, on the 22nd of December, please excuse the rustling, project bag from my friend Sophie at Turtle Bay Stitches. The cute little gingerbread man keyring is another freebie from Barbara Anna. This is called Infinite Christmas. I'm stitching it on 36 count vintage country mocha, and I stitched it on that day and no more. What blows my mind is the colours just do not say Christmas to me whatsoever, but somehow when you combine them, like totally Christmas tree, right? That's that blue. Colour theory, mind-blowing. I cannot get my head around it. There are some very, very clever people who can and do wonderful things with colours. I'm not one of them. I either do what I'm told or I wing it. Oh my god, I've just noticed the stitching on this bag is like green through red to white to green. Hee. Sorry, I've literally just noticed that for the first time. Again, I will link below where you can get that freebie from Barbara Anna. Okay, next up, I started this on Christmas Eve, 24th of December. It's probably only had that stitching day on it. This is Rococo Ladies by Soda Stitch. I'll show you where I'm at too. It's on 40 count even weave. And this is where I'm at. So you might be able to tell already that it's completely different coloured hair. So I have followed, I think it's just Jordan and Bernadette, possibly, Tattooed Stitcher and Burn Stitches, who have changed the ladies. I don't have a cover photo in here that I can point to. Who have changed the ladies to represent the women of Bridgerton. I've got one here that I've kind of cut and stuck apart to show you what I'm doing. So obviously the fabric that I've got, that I chose, is this. This is what I've got. This is what I've got to work with, and obviously that is 4 ladies in a line. So this is the layout. I'll show you back here of where I've cut them out and pasted them together, of how I'm going to set them out. I'm also doing the same changes where they're going to be hair colour changes and skin tone variations to represent Queen Charlotte, Lady Bridgerton, Lady Danbury, and there's another one. I need to go back to my notes and figure out who they are. Oh, here we go. Augusta, Princess of Wales, St George's mum, Lady Agatha Danbury, Lady Violet Bridgerton, and Queen Charlotte. Again, I just need to sit down and do it. I think it might be easier because, like you say, I've cut and pasted those together. I'm probably better off just charting with the colour changes and the layout change, and there's also text for their names that I might be better off just getting all of that charted so that then I can sit down and stitch it. Okay, next we have one more Soda Stitch. This is my first start of 2024. So 3rd of January 2024 I started this Elf Tree by Soda Stitch, and I'm stitching on this amazing fabric. It's by Banana Oil Fabrics out of the US. Look at that. It's a 28 count even weave. I'm about 1.5% of the way through this pattern. It's quite dense. I'm stitching it 2 over 2 in CXC threads, and yeah, it's just another one that I'm going to have to keep plugging away. I think with this one I haven't got quite all of the colours in the project bag, so every time I pick it up to stitch it I then can't be bothered to go and rummage through the pile of threads and stuff in my stash to pick out the colours I want, so I end up picking and choosing somewhere else to stitch, and then I don't enjoy stitching that way. I'd rather have everything, and then whenever I pick a colour I'm like, right, let's go. I get really put off by having to go rummaging, so I think that's why that's not got as much progress as it could have. But I love this fabric. It's beautiful and soft, and it's just amazing. I did originally start my Long Dog saga on it, but it was a little bit too dense over one, because that was the only way it was going to fit on this piece of fabric. So it got taken out and restarted, and I'm really glad that I did. So that is project number 56, or WIP number 56, obviously not including all of the other projects that are finished or UFO'd that I've showed you. And looking at the time, we've gone quite long, so I think what we're going to do is we're going to pause it here. I'm going to get this uploaded, edited and uploaded, hopefully very soon for you, and then we'll come back for a part 2, because I still have plenty to show you. Thank you so much for watching. I do hope you come back for part 2. Please subscribe and consider turning notifications on so that you know when that second part is uploaded, and I hope to see you again soon. Thank you so much. Bye.